I...
That's 3 eyes in one breath. Makes you sound a rather egotistical young lady.
What's happened?
Change, my dear. And it seems not a moment too soon.
Every year at Christmas, I review what I feel is the worst episode of a series. Since I'm almost out of Star Trek series and the weekend is kind of far off in either direction, this year we're going to be starting doing something a little different. Instead of having a bad Trek episode today, I'm going to have a bad episode on Saturday, and we'll have the worst of a different series. This time I'm going to do Doctor Who, because it is the 50th anniversary year and all, so it seems kind of fitting. Now, if you are unfamiliar with the series, here's all you need to know. The Doctor is an alien who flies around time and space in a blue phone box that's bigger on the inside. He has a female companion usually, in this case named Perry, and he has many faces because every time he dies, he regenerates. He comes back to life, but looking and acting and thinking differently. So there are a lot of doctors. And over the past year, I have covered all of them, except one. Poor Colin Baker. This is the first episode of his that I am ever doing, but there is a good reason for that. Nobody has ever asked me to review one of his. So I'm sorry if this is the first view you're getting of him, but then this is the first view most of us ever had of him. Colin Baker played the 6th Doctor. He was picked to replace Peter Davison, whom J&T, John Nathan Turner, had also chosen to take on the role, although going far in a different direction. Peter Davison had been well known before taking the role, and there was a question at the time if he was perhaps too well known to be given this role. Well, Colin Baker was the exact opposite. He wasn't a total unknown, but he hadn't really done anything eye-catching for years, and he was only picked for the part because J&T found him amusing at a party. Now, that's not a slight against Baker. I'm not saying he didn't deserve to be the Doctor, and he has gone on to be one of the most popular Doctors of the Big Finish audio line. But there was some nervousness behind the scenes, including from Eric Sayward, who was the script editor on the series. But J&T felt like taking a chance on this Colin Baker fellow. Here's the problem, though. J&T seemed like he didn't know when to quit taking chances on things. He gave Baker the last story of season 21 to give everyone a chance to get to know this new Doctor, which seemed like a good idea. But it depended on 2 essential things: that the story be a good introduction, and that the budget wouldn't let you down. Well, season-ending episodes are usually the chintziest on Doctor Who, and rather than saving money for it, the show looked as cheap as it was. Now, I'm not going to hold that against them as far as quality goes. I'm just saying it didn't help. And the script, written by Anthony Stephen, it was shit. Eric Sayward had to do a rewrite to accommodate the new Doctor and also to try to make this thing presentable, which wasn't his best because Stephen was dragging his feet on it, and even once claimed that the script was running late because his typewriter had exploded. Which, having seen the result, I can only guess it was guilt-ridden suicide on the typewriter's part. But between all this and some other decisions, J&T was taking a lot of chances. As so many have said, it was brave to do this, and it was bold to try that. Fair enough. The thing about being brave and bold is that you're taking a risk. Well, you know what else is brave and bold? Base jumping. Know what happens to people who base jump sometimes? They die. Their bravery does not make that any less true than J&T's bravery makes this episode not crap. What further hurt the twin dilemma was that Davison's swan song was a resounding success. In 2009, when fans voted on the best of the 200 episodes of that entire show's run, The Caves of Androzani was number 1. The twin dilemma was number 200. And obviously, since I'm covering it today of all days, that means I definitely agree with that last choice. We kick things off, and already we're let down by the twins, Romulus and Remus. Yeah, I know. They're playing a game which involves, I don't know, backgammon with candles tossed out of a Pier 1 for being too kitsch. Casting specifically aged identical twin child actors is not always easy, and it was further hamstrung because J&T insisted on sticking with the script's choice of boys for the role, because after all, what's more important, acting ability or having a penis, huh? No brainer there. Really, no brain was involved, and by God, we plan to keep that streak alive for the twin dilemma. So, this is what we were able to find, guys who by the end will make you say, you know, maybe the world owes Jake Lloyd an apology.
Abandoned again. You, we forgive, Father, but not Mother.
Yeah, I can't forgive your mother either for forgetting her diaphragm that day. They asked him to stop by to tell him something dire.
We're going to play equations.
Oh, no.
Oh, equations. What terrifying possibilities does this unravel? Accessing encrypted information, divining horrific natural secrets, projecting concepts onto the very fabric of reality itself. Nah, it's a frickin' math game.
Oh, no.
No! Your mathematical skill could change events on a massive scale. Don't you realize that?
Oh, don't be so melodramatic, Father.
Yeah, that's Colin Baker's job. Speaking of which, now is when we can finally meet the title character, and Perry is a bit aghast. Many have pointed out that she didn't thank him for saving her life in the last chapter, but then it's hard for her to get a word in edgewise as he struts about talking about how awesome he is. Each incarnation tends to be a reaction to the last, so since the fifth was warm, subtle, and compassionate, 6 has gone for acerbic extrovert. One of the first things he does is insults his previous incarnation and takes umbrage at Perry's defense of him. But he's also still unstable. Regeneration can be a strain, and it's often accompanied by exhaustion or amnesia. Baker's, however, is accompanied by insanity.
There is no change. No rhyme. No time. No place for space. Nothing.
Oh, it's not much so far. Colin Baker's acting is sometimes kind of like a roller coaster. You got to give it a little bit of time to build up a head of steam.
Nothing but the grinding engines of the universe, the crushing boredom of eternity.
Good luck, Perry. You've gone from traveling with an Edwardian gentleman to being the sidekick to the Joker. He soon gets it back together again and starts looking for something to change into. Yeah. The episode gives us a momentary respite by cutting back to the twins, who are visited by an old man who materializes in the room to offer them free candy. The twins are somewhat suspicious of him in their flatbread sort of way, but he slaps a green bit of goop on their wrists, and that's settled. As others have pointed out, the boys have a slight speech impediment, which is a bit of a problem when you name them.
Now, what are your names?
I am Romulus. I am Remus.
Knowledge.
So here we are at last. Yes, the costume. J&T's mandate was to make it completely tasteless, and after much effort the designer, in a fit of sarcasm, succeeded. We started all off with a patchwork coat that was born in a transmat accident that doesn't seem to have been cleaned up after. Combine that with a pair of striped yellow clown pants and spats over what I can only assume are bowling shoes. Eventually they would change the tie because obviously even that would make him look ridiculous. Perry can't help but pass comment on his taste, or lack thereof, much to his offense, allowing us to see another aspect to this persona.
Ta-da!
Yuck.
That he's petty. And also has another fit, where he begins to suspect that Perry is some evil fairy or alien spy, so I'm guessing that his new persona is a homeless guy. I made a point back in Fear Her that I do not accept the argument that Doctor Who is a strictly children's program. To further demonstrate why I feel that is so, I present the following clip. Please note that the Doctor is not being controlled by an alien force, tricked in some way, or is playing. This is the Doctor acting entirely by his own choice.
Well, we all know the fate of alien spies.
I submit that if you could not imagine Gordon doing that to his wife on Sesame Street, this probably is not a children's show. It's one of those things for kids to be watching with their parents or grandparents in order for them to understand what's going on, especially because of how much this seems like domestic violence. Or quite possibly being a pimp with those clothes, it's hard for me to tell. Now, the attack could have worked, maybe, if not for the serious problem that the Doctor has. He's an insufferable asshole. The idea, of course, is that he's not really himself here. The Doctor is often erratic after a regeneration, but the problem with it is that the contrast here is minuscule. When he's not physically abusing Perry, he's verbally abusing Perry. When he's not strangling people, he's shouting at them. The mere driving him away, showing him he's become a monster, only works if he isn't a monster the rest of the time. That he will follow all this up with behavior that is either insufferable or just completely mad doesn't make it an easily acceptable moment of not being himself. The most unrealistic aspect of a completely ridiculous story is that Perry doesn't demand that the moment he gets himself under control that he return her to Earth. Actually, as a domestic violence parallel, I suppose that's actually sadly realistic. So let's see if we can find something that's less offensive and full of innuendo. Oh, how about an old man snatching children away from their bedrooms at night? He brings the kids to the spaceship where his bird people underlings await, then reports into Mestor, his boss. His order comes down. To avoid pursuit, they are to head to Titan 3 for the moment. And good thing for them, because Dad's home and has discovered the kidnapping. There's Zanium on the floor. Oh no! That could mean the involvement of aliens from Cookie World or the planet Awooga! Awooga! So Space Cop Hugo Lang will be leading the pursuit in their police space fighter craft because, of course, space cops would have fighter craft. Don't be silly. We return to the Tardis, where the Doctor, to show how his attempted murder there was so out of character, acts like a complete prick when Perry confronts him over it. She finally starts to get him to see that she is not making this up.
You tried to kill me.
Oh, don't be absurd.
I'm not.
Oh, what you say is impossible. I have an inbuilt resistance to any form of violence, except in self-defense.
Yeah, I'm sure this story definitely won't end with a violent solution.
Regenerate yet unregenerate.